Marija, Katrina, Dambe and Florian Beta, and the company is called NOMAD Architects. Architects in an office, NOMAD, focus on circular and timber architecture. They combine planning, research and hands-on with activism. We understand the discipline of sustainable architecture as a collaboration between many actors. Thus, the aim is to work closely with construction teams, engineers, municipalities and all other players of the value chain. Just one guy on stage, only you.
Yeah.
Okay. Florian stays in.
So
Yeah.
you hear me? Yeah.
I do. They do.
You hear me well. Okay.
If not well, then show us which one is the most silent part of the podcast. Try.
Okay. You
Say something good for Latvian. Draugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yes, you can start things.
So yeah, I'm Marija from NOMAD. What I'm going to speak about is the gray zone of circularity, and it's me alone on the stage, and I feel quite a bit stressed because we are a super small office. Actually, it's just me and Florian. He's sitting there. And after the previous presentation with such large projects, we do very small things. But yeah, we somehow tick the box on use of materials and tracking their flows. And so yeah, I'm gonna tell a bit why the gray zone, because when usually we're invited to speak somewhere, we end up having to tell how we are doing things kind of legal, kind of loophole-ish. So yeah, I just honestly call it the gray zone, and that's kind of what we do. So just a bit of a background. As we define us as an office who deals with circular construction, circular architecture, we usually refer to construction because to encompass that we're not only drawing, but we track down what happens afterwards. Well, the birth of our office is 2019. So if we look at the circular economy research articles, they kind of really boomed to the moment we started our office, and we're kind of in the sweet spot of tackling this topic. And it kind of feels when we are navigating into the circularity topic that it's something really new, and like if we look also in the research, like before in 2000s, there's just a few articles, there's a bit more, and now there's like everywhere. If you Google on the internet, you find so much information, and it seems like a new and really hot topic. So yeah, just as an introduction, this is our kind of daily life. We are part-time at the office, but part-time we are on waste sites, demolition sites, also abroad, that's a Tartu construction waste site, and so on. So we spend our days between the things that we draw and actually looking what happens to the buildings at the end of the time. But what I mentioned about the aspects that it seems like a very new thing, I usually like to point out that actually that what we do is not new at all. Actually not doing it is somewhat new. And if we look at circularity, then in the construction, in architecture, like this is a picture of from Brussels 100 years ago, where a palace was being demolished, and actually the materials were being sorted, properly sorted and available for the people of the city to pick if they want to reuse something. And we can go 1,000 years back. This is from a basilica in northern Italy. So we can see that it's constructed of material that comes from various time periods, architectural styles, and so on. So they actually reuse those pieces. That's something we try to do nowadays, but actually I'll tell you what happens when we try to do that. And we can go back 2,000 years, and we find even ancient laws forbidding someone to make business by demounting and reselling materials. So kind of the ultimate thing we want to do right now. So just all this, we are pretending that it's something very, very new, and when in reality it's not at all. And somehow this, what we are doing right now with completely overusing the resources, this is the thing that is quite new. And coming from Latvia, super small country. I mean, we are kind of close there with Estonia, but like, it's often said that why it's not that we put these questions to countries that have more population, which are larger, which are wasting more, building more, and so on. And I usually like to put this graph, which is the Earth overshoot day. So it's the day when we have used enough so basically the maximum resources that we can self-sufficiently replace and start taking already from the future. And if the world average is right now end of July, then the Latvian average is like, it's really bad. We're starting the April and we are already taking from our future resources. And this is why even in a small country with rather little amount of construction works and things, we still have to speak the circularity. So what I mentioned about saying that circularity is something new or feeling like it's something new, we have all these topics of new standards, how to reuse things, how to check the safety, how to build in a circular manner, and so on. And there's so much information on it, and actually us ourselves, we are also participating a lot in contributing to that amount of like resources on how to build. Like this is it's in Latvian, I'm sorry, but it's guidelines for Riga municipality for circular construction. And there actually, if you track the last years, there's a lot being done in how to build, but there's kind of nothing done. So we're only speaking and always somehow getting stuck. And if you don't want to believe me that nothing is being done, then this is a project we did 1 year after we started our office. We collected wood from nearby village, so from a demolition site, from a renovation site, and a new construction. So very, I will say honestly, very trashy material. It was dirty, it was full of nails and everything. Kind of, we cleaned it up and built a little like installation. And this one got nominated for the Latvian Architecture Awards, which is, I think that one highlights when I say nothing is being done in circularity. This gets to compete like with large constructions. So jokes aside, if what I mentioned about the gray zone and why actually the circularity is a gray zone, then this picture, that's students whom we teach, but this picture is from a construction waste recycling site, sorting and recycling site. And this is what is circular economy understood by law in Latvia. So this is the picture how by law it looks like. So everything that, so when you have construction works, no matter something new or a renovation or demolition, so any material that is a cutoff or something, but what doesn't get fixed to the building basically is immediately defined. If it exits the site, it's defined as a waste. And it ends up being waste only when it has traveled to a waste site, has been either trashed altogether or in some cases sorted a bit by the material types, and then either the energy is recovered or in case of concrete or mineral materials, it's being crushed. And this is when it ends being waste. So actually by the law, we don't have any circularity written in. We don't have reuse, we don't have upcycling, recycling, we have only downcycling possible in the law. And and when you're building a new building, of course you have to account where are you sourcing your materials. And you cannot say that I took a material from one building and brought it to the other, because you're an architect, you're not a waste handling personnel. So actually you're not allowed to do that. So this is basically the reality. And this is by the law what can be understood, what is allowed, and kind of showcase the circularity. So what you can take is lamps, some old cutting devices and something, actually nothing what has to do with the construction sector's waste in reality. So just to give you a background. And then if we go further, then this is a project that we did as a research, what is it now, I think 2 or 3 years ago. For the Riga municipality, we were prepared to assess this abandoned 1970s service hotel, if this could be renovated in a circular manner. So again, it actually touches it on a very theoretical level. Can we do it? And then if we can, then we will try to figure out how to do it by legal means somehow. This is also somehow the reality I will later have from some other projects, also pictures. I don't know why everyone feels that for the circular economy we should get the most let down buildings. why we cannot experiment with something that actually has some material value left, but maybe that's the case. No one feels sad if this fails. But yeah, this stands in kind of quite central in Riga, not on the old town, but like quite a rather central located building. And so we played through all the scenarios with other students of ours. We're quite much teaching around in various universities, and when we get those projects, I mean, this is where 2 people, like, we cannot feasibly measure this building alone, so this is a great tool to upscale the processes. What we did is that we analyzed really the entire building. As it's a Soviet period construction, it actually had no building documentation. It had only the room plans, but it had no documentation what it's built of, anything. The city archive had no info of this building. It had only the foundation plan. That was the only info. So in a means of, okay, let's renovate it in a circular manner, we actually have to know what it's built of. So we sent in the students and they mapped really floor by floor, room by room, all the materials they could find, then looking behind what it's made, and kind of made a lot of assumptions, and then tried to count also the volumes of those things, the condition of it, can it be demounted, can it not, and so on. And yeah, you can see the table then with all the mapped materials, giving them identification, and so on. And then mapping these also within the building, because there were all kind of changes done also in the floor plans. And if it comes to the renovation phase, actually one has to be able to find those materials that we speak of and kind of trying to map these. And so at the end, we finally had the what's the building made of. Kind of bad surprise, of course, because so this yellow part, that's internal walls. It's gypsum concrete, I think that's the English for it, which has gotten wet and actually is somehow toxic when it's wet. So already all the internal walls have to be changed and done new. But then the rest, yeah, we have bricks, concrete, timber, and then yeah, there's steel, bitumen, laminate, and tiles and so on. All kind of pieces. So we had the idea of what the building is like, and then we started playing around, because the idea was we have to persuade the municipality that instead of taking this down and building new, they actually can renovate it and have actually circular benefits from renovating it. The current floor plan, as I mentioned, it was a service hotel, so it meant that these were individual rooms. There was one bathroom per floor and one kitchen per floor. Two on each wing, basically one. And if the city had the plan to renovate this into an apartment building, so social apartments for large families, so at least 3 children or more, and additional social services, then these have to comply with a lot of other requirements of up to nowadays. So there's the things of what is usually required is cross ventilation possible within the apartments, of course, the daylight conditions, sound, materials which are withstanding the use and all kinds of things. So what we started with was we flipped kind of two different floor plans to compare what can be in best case done, and then use these as test case scenarios to count basically in each case how many materials of these would go away or what would stay within the building. And then we showed these results to the municipality and actually showed what happens if they don't do it. Then this is the full volume of the building, and if they decide to take it down and just start from zero, then basically they get a trash pile of 10 by 10 by 30 meters. This is what they would create. And they cannot, with doing this, say that the new building would be more sustainable because it's out of better materials if you create such an amount of waste in a manner. And actually this visual became the key thing that circulated around the municipality and the slides of the politicians and so on, and actually the project got the funding. And there was an architectural competition now in last autumn to this spring, and there it goes into a second stage now into the detailing phase. So we kind of did the pre-study, and this whole material with all the analysis was given to the architects so they can navigate and propose. Basically, what they have to do is take this material and come up with something better, more efficient, more interesting. So yeah, this was just a study of possibilities. But yeah, to this one, it's not yet into the execution phase. So when it comes about actually reusing the materials, actually moving them around within the building, that's still a big question of what will be done. I mean, on paper, those things looked quite good, and we can get quite high amounts of circularity there. But yeah, there's all the legal aspects which still have to be solved. This is another quite early project that we did in a municipality in northeast of Latvia. It was just a swing installation which was meant to be fully demountable, and we wanted it to be circular, but we were quite scared with the aspect that, yeah, it's not allowed to reuse material, so we took fully new timber for the construction of it, but made it as designed for disassembly detailing. And then we said, okay, so the finishes and coverings and so on, these can be reused. The municipality was really scared in general of the whole idea. They wanted to have the swings out of new plastic, because these should be soft and so on. And then we found, instead of taking new plastic, we found a trashed football grass, synthetic one, and we just wrapped the old wooden logs in it and said, okay, this is new plastic seat and can be like that. And it kind of went through halfway. But actually the building project was never, the municipality on every step had so many questions on the materials, as it was an installation for a specific event. They kind of wanted it to be built, but the legal burdens took so long that they said, okay, build it, and we just keep approving it along the process. It was years after not approved, and actually I think it stood 4 years, and it was demounted this spring, winter spring. Actually never approved, but it gave us a quite interesting case, since by law it was never an existing installation. Actually, that material is still new, it's not trash because it was not used. So we have demounted this material, and we will use it for a new building. Actually, at the end of July, it will become a house for artists. So we have full-scale material where we don't have to worry persuading someone that this is reused material, because actually it was not, on paper, it was not used. But yeah, the reuse actually, where it can happen quite easily is of course in a level of installations, because there we often don't have to prove where we have sourced the material from, and we can even manage it in a way that we build it, we demount it, and we use on our own within the kind of office level of those materials. We never even pass it over to the client in a way. So this was for one festival, we did a stage design where part of the material was scaffolding that was rented, and then we had this full scale timber elements which were only rope tied so that we don't damage them, because we knew that nearby an artist residency wanted a kind of performance space greenhouse thing. So after the stage, then we took it apart, and the artists there kind of gave the manual and they built it into the smaller installation for them. And this is no problem because, yeah, this you don't, as an installation, you don't have the typical building laws applying. This was another thing for the Riga municipality we did for the restoration of an Independence Day. There was a competition that the installation should be reusable in the next years, and preferably from natural materials and so on, and it sounded like perfect match. Let's try to do it, and we kind of created this thing which is out of these large triangles, and all the rest of connections are again fully designed for disassembly. It's just hang on, hang off parts, and it's fully modular, can be transformed. But once it was demounted, so it was mounted, all was good, this is how it was stored. And once we saw it, we were, okay, so this was just a trick to get the funding and get the installation built, and actually they don't care of reuse, because leaving timber construction installation in the middle of literal trash, it's not gonna happen. But we were quite surprised, because the year after, with the help of the manuals, actually, so you see the flat pack is really demounted elements. They had assembled it again, and we looked closely and there was no damage. And actually this year we found it again at another spot in Riga. So they do mount it and demount it, and I'm actually surprised at the fact that the timber looks still quite new, despite the storage conditions. So I think it's a good advertisement for timber use. But yeah, a lot also what we do, because I said that we are actually not doing something new. We are learning or relearning actually from the past. So on a lot of cases we are by ourselves going into the buildings and doing those things on our own and trying to figure out, so this is an old log building where we have been cleaning it, numbering it, finding a way to demount it, and actually taking it right now in this process of taking it step by step apart, and then we will move it to another spot, reassemble it in a bit different manner. So a lot of these things is really looking back in the past, how it was done, and trying to then adapt it to the nowadays cases. But all of this is still kind of case by case and one project by one project, and they are not possible to be multiplied. And this is some of the problem if we know that the construction sector is such a large thing. It is half of our waste, it is half of our raw resources, it's so many things and so many problems at the same time, and like one project at a time is not enough. And so what we have been doing on the side is actually looking more at the industry and how we can improve the processes there by actually collaborating with the material producers. So this was an earlier tryout where we borrowed material for an installation from Estonian timber material shop, I don't know if I pronounced it correct, Market. They were up for the idea that we take this material, it's like 6 meter long wooden beams, and the terrace planks and so on. We don't cut the material, we don't do anything, we use again only rope connections, and we rope bind it and hang it from an existing on-site concrete elements, and had the installation, and then afterwards we returned, and this material went back in the shelves for being sold as new material. So this was one tryout, and we were like, okay, so actually there is some interest from the industry. And then we kept looking more, what can we do, and actually where can we go outside of the gray zone and into like proper processes. And if we look at prefab construction, so majority of it happens in factory, and actually the things that you cut off of your elements, you put them on site, but these are not by construction law immediately defined by waste. It's just you can use it in the next things in the way you want. You don't have to deal with this aspect of, oh, it has become a waste, you can use it for the next means rather easily. So we did this project for Estonian Academy of Arts, for the Timber Research Center, where we were prepared to help to redesign their pattern building system into a fully circular timber building system. This is parts of the manual. So the idea was that we treat a modular construction as something that, like, it's modular. You can stack the modules, you can restack them, reorganize them. You can take components out of the module and be circular with these and reassemble into other things. Or you can go into the single element level and be circular with that. So we ended up designing a thing that same kind of all the previous learnings of connections of things that can be reused, reassembled, taken apart rather easy, hanged together. Assembled those within the modular system, and then found a way also to hang on facades and how such building kind of thinking that right now we can make best use of materials within the factory level, and at some point possibly it's also solved at the legal level. So now the buildings are being built so that they can be demounted, and then in future, once the legal side is fixed, these can be actually demounted and remounted. But we are speaking of a time span of 10, 15, 20 years or something more, where hopefully the issues I mentioned on the law side are actually addressed. And yeah, this is from we were quite happy that with the system that we developed, we could also do the architectural design of the first pilot building. Now the system is being used by quite many other architects already that I've seen. But yeah, we could design the ESLi training center within the system, and once more tracking on site, finding things that work or don't work, making sure that there are no nail guns present on the site, which is apparently a common thing that someone still runs around with them, and finding all these things that it can work to this disassembly manner. And yeah, so this one's no gray zone. This is how it can be done. But there's a question: if we would say now to take it apart and move it somewhere else, how is that treated? Yeah, I don't know. But in theory, this one can be reassembled. And then there's this other aspect where, okay, so what happens in the timber production industry with, like, meaning massive timber, so CLT and glulam and all these. Actually, they have their own waste from the processes. And then this is the most recent thing we have been starting to look. Actually, they have rather standard elements which usually stay over, windows, doors, cutouts with small differences but quite similar dimensions usually come out there. You have the typical offcuts from end of plates to have straight ends of these, and you have a large amount of same kind of elements. So this is the most recent thing that we've been starting to deal with. How can we construct something with these? Because as long as these stay in the factory, they are actually not waste, and you can legally work with these. But yeah, to kind of come to the conclusion that, of course, we're not forgetting the trashy buildings that we are given to be experimenting with. We're also trying to bring as many young professionals into this as possible. Like here, it's with construction managing students and other creative industries together to actually also push them into the things that at the start look really trashy. How can we clean it up, renovate it in a way that we start to see again the value also in those buildings that were before abandoned or vacant or something like that. And yeah, this is another project with students. Exactly what you saw. This is again city very happy this will be a circular thing, but I mean it's so fallen apart that there is kind of nothing to say. But still running through the process with the students, kind of so they learn how they do the material mapping, how they do the searching, and then eventually they can apply it also to a better quality buildings and cases. Yeah, and of course, we have a lot of vacant past century buildings in Latvia, and we just get more and more of them. So finding ways and also working with the community, how can communities take back those vacant buildings and find some other social, cultural, other uses of these that stay, and kind of seeing also the circularity in these really large built volumes. And when we don't take it down, it's not becoming waste. We actually can use it on the spot where it is. And the very, very last thing. So we were quite happy that everything starts to move into the circularity in a quite good direction, and there are things that are still stuck, but it's slowly moving, and there are competitions starting to happen, and everything is good. And then we joined. We do also on side research and European project-funded research, and we joined this chemicals and construction materials research, which is about enabling circularity in the future. And then, we learned from the chemists, it's really bad. And actually, a lot of things that we thought we can reuse, we cannot. Because of using a wrong outdoor paint, and we cannot in future bring this material indoors because it has cancer hazard, or this. And this is a new, for us, a learning curve to actually find now when we design new things, to actually pay attention that in future it's not only about the ease of disassembly or something, but it's also all these health aspects that have to be addressed, and where are the risks and so on. So the past year has been a lot of writing and figuring out actually the materials and what are the qualities of that or the risks of that as well. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Marija, last question. I really like the name of the office, NOMAD, so you guys not staying in a place, traveling, but the houses are non-nomad things, they stay.
Not all of them. So many of our projects really move side to side. Yeah.
So you try to make houses move around?
Yeah, it's a case which happened after we picked our name.
Nice. So you have actually discovered something. Marija, thank you for your presentation. Next on stage.